Lili Taylor is an absolute gift. And it breaks my heart that she's intensely undervalued. She's one of my favorite modern actresses. As an actor, she is phenomenal. She is phenomenal, thinking of her early roles in Shortcuts, Say Anything, The X-Files, even. Of course, she came to be typecast, but I would say typecast into the most difficult type. The archetypal woman destroyed. Emotionally, sexually, physically, mentally, spiritually. The woman destroyed. And that's where we come to films like The Haunting and High Fidelity and 6 Feet Under, where she was at her most extraordinary. And I would say gave the best performance out of anyone on the show 6 Feet Under, which is quite a remarkable feat, considering that that show, if nothing else, is full of remarkable performances by quite a few undervalued actors. But Lili Taylor is the most undervalued out of all of them, and I think far and away the most talented out of any of them. Lili Taylor has always moved me. Always. She has this remarkable emotionality about her. She's able to express worlds of grief, worlds of pathos and pity and sympathy, empathy, with her eyes, with her physicality, with the minutia of her physicality. She knows exactly how to use her body in the most emotionally grappling and confrontational kind of ways. She's always a confrontational actor, and I don't think a whole lot of people realize that. Because the roles she often occupies in films are seemingly passive. You know, that's one of the key characteristics of the woman destroyed model that she does portray in several films, is this kind of passive characteristic, this passive trait. But I don't think that they understand that the emotionality, that wrecked emotionality that comes from being passive and letting people just trample all over you, as her characters often do, is confrontational, is intensely confrontational on maybe the highest, most captivating and evocative level. She is a remarkably talented actor, and I couldn't rave highly enough about her. I think Lili Taylor is excellent. When I see her in a film, even if it's only for a moment, for a fleeting moment, my faith and confidence in whatever film I'm watching increases. It starts to inflate, and I go, oh, this is going to be great. Lili Taylor gives her stamp of approval to this film. I've always been a huge fan of Lili Taylor. She's always just kind of blown me away in every performance, even if the film is bad. You know, like The Haunting is a bad film. It's a laughable film. But my God, is she giving such a brave, confrontational performance emotionally. A performance that, kind of tries to wither at you. Even The Conjuring, she does the same type of thing. She is a remarkable actor. Remarkable actor. And let's talk about maybe her most experimental moment when it comes to the method. Her own method. Let's talk about The Addiction, 1995, directed by Abel Ferrara, which stars not only Lili Taylor, but Christopher Walken, who is an excellent performer. It also stars basically all of the best parts of the Sopranos cast, barring James Gandolfini, because you have Edie Falco, the wonderful Annabella Sciorra, and Michael Imperioli, if only for a brief moment. The Sopranos is my favorite television show of all time, so it's really nice seeing all of these people in a New York art house type of film. And let me focus on Lili Taylor in the film, because that's really where the positives come. All in all, it really wasn't a great film. It wasn't a bad film. Say that there was a line that separates good movies from bad movies. Abel Ferrara's The Addiction, a story about intellectual vampires, just tips barely into the bad movie category. Barely into it. So it's not something that I'm going to criticize very heavily. But it's also not something I'm going to champion and praise. What I will champion, what I will praise, and what I will pay tribute to is Lili Taylor's experimental turn in the film as Kat. She is remarkable. She's ridiculously good in this movie. There's a scene, I just mentioned Michael Imperioli. and he's on the sidewalk, and he's handing out these flyers for Jesus, for salvation. And Lili Taylor is damned. She's doomed. She's a vampire. And she tries to get him to come inside so that she can basically feed off of him. You know, she's invited all of these intellectual, like, elites to come over so that she and the other vampires, Annabella Sciorra, Paul Calderone, could just feast off them. But Michael Imperioli doesn't want to go inside. So the next scene is a harsh cut to Lili Taylor in the back of like the kitchen somewhere, like at the party, and she's just freaking out, like, why not? Like, she's just losing her mind. And I've never seen that kind of deranged rage, that truly damaged and disfigured anger come from Lili Taylor. And it was an experimental way of expressing it. I'm not entirely sure if that has a lot to do with Abel Ferrara, because Abel Ferrara was able to get that same, like, type of very bizarre emotionality from Harvey Keitel in Bad Lieutenant, but I want to give all the credit to Lili Taylor. She just started going crazy, going ape, going mad, and it was unsettling because there was a remarkable kind of contorted physicality to her demonstration of emotionality in that scene, but it didn't just end there. It's all through it. Lili Taylor is doing some wildly inventive things with her performance. Some wildly inventive bits of dread, of viciousness, of evil, of insight, of emotionality, of seduction. She is doing all of these things that, like, we've known from other vampire films, that we've come to recognize from other types of movies, but this is an experimental way that I've never truly seen before, and Lili Taylor nails it. It really feeds the film an alien nature, because she is the anchor, she is the lead. It's such a bizarre lead because it is monstrous in the best sort of way. It's familiar yet completely unfamiliar, so it is intimate yet alien. Her emotionality is something that we completely recognize, we can completely identify and understand, but it's expressed through this kind of methodical acting that has never exactly been captured before on film. And Lili Taylor, this is an extraordinary performance from her. The film itself, it is interesting, but not as interesting as I believe Abel Ferrara would like you to think that it was. I think that vampire movies are fascinating just in general. I love that, you know, the original vampire films, the Bela Lugosi, or Nosferatu's even, were really a response to the foreign other. It was they were horror movies about the foreigners who came over and not only romanced our women, but ravaged them. You know, that's what the original Draculas and vampires were all about. And then I like their little renaissance, their return to form in the 80s as vampires became a bit more sexually androgynous. You got a bit more of the effeminate vampires, you know, Anne Rice style, or even Lost Boys, because Joel Schumacher had a lot of homoerotic qualities in it, and it was largely a response to the AIDS epidemic. We had these new issues within our blood, and these vampires now became romantic, but if you pursued that kind of subtextual romance, you were doomed, because there's something wrong with people's blood, and who they choose to love and how they express that love. So it was a response to the AIDS epidemic. In the mid-90s, I believe that this is a response not to a truly cultural thing. That's really why the film kind of falls flat. It's not really addressing anything, but I think it is addressing Abel Ferrara's own feelings, because I think Abel Ferrara is trying to expel something about himself. And that something about himself, I think, is maybe a bit of an elitist. He's trying to expel that elitist side of himself, that nearly pretentious side of himself. Because the film tries to make all of these grand statements, but it can't make them originally. It's always someone quoting Sartre, or quoting Kierkegaard, or Nietzsche, and even just kind of proudly proclaiming that they're quoting people like William Burroughs. They're quoting all of these people. And it really treads the line between, are you trying to make a very interesting point, Or are you trying to show off how well-read you are, how well-educated you are philosophically and through literature? Are you trying to show off, or are you trying to expose? Now, there are great scenes in this film, and the overall message is really that mankind is evil, that our addiction is violence, and that it's our violence of will over others type of idea. And I think it's best said by the character who I've always had a crush on. I've always had a crush on Annabella Sciorra, played Gloria on The Sopranos. Always had a crush on her. And she has this marvelous monologue near the end of the film, wearing these awesome glasses with her short, like, punky hair, standing in front of, like, the window, just going, talking about how, men don't sin because they're sinful. They sin because they're sinners. We're evil, not because of the evil that we do. We are evil because we are evil. That kind of thing, and that's the addiction of mankind. And I think that that's the best monologue in the film, because she delivers a quote and then she rewords it. The film actually tries to find its own voice, find its own way of expressing and relaying what it truly thinks outside of someone's quote, yet it needs that quote, that passage, in order to leap off of as a springboard. So even then, it's still like crippled by I think a very facile, very contrived intellectuality, intellectualism in the film. I don't buy it. I think it's extremely forced, and I don't believe that it is endearing or charming or romantic. Now, luckily, they do have that central performance from Lili Taylor, and about an hour into the film, you have a remarkable appearance by Christopher Walken, which is kind of creepy and bizarre, and really well crafted. Christopher Walken is an extremely gifted actor as well. But you have that central anchor of Lili Taylor, who is beautiful, who is really, really pretty and cute and sexy in this movie, really. But she has all of these alien emotions, these alien qualities. Or maybe the point is, and I would be easily convinced of this, that Abel Ferrara is showing us through Lili Taylor what our actual emotions look like without that materialistic, artificial, veil, without that filter, without that so-called social purifier, that Lili Taylor comes to embody and express all of our darkest feelings without any restraint, and that's what those emotions truly look like. It's just that we've never actually expressed them because we've been disingenuous with ourselves. We've been lying to ourselves, and that's what they look like, and that's why it feels so intimate yet completely unknowable at the same exact time, because we share those emotions too. We've just never actually expressed them or felt them in honest and sincere ways, like Lili Taylor was able to do once she became a monster, a creature of the night. So the addiction, it falls over its own contrivances. It falls flat on its own, pretentious gets thrown around a lot, but this film is actually and truly pretentious. Yet there is wonderful moments of this black and white photography. He knows how to capture certain things. He knows how to capture certain women in particular. He knows how to capture Annabella Sciorra. There's not a single part of her performance that isn't absolutely impeccably captured and looks like, whoa, looks like a holy moment whenever she's on screen. He knew how to capture, frame, and photograph that woman. Same with Lili Taylor. There's not a single moment that doesn't seem like a moment beyond itself. When we're talking about composition of film, the composition of the kinetics, when she is actually on the screen and just being Lili Taylor, just being this completely disfigured character. There are holy moments in it, and there are wonderfully captured and composed moments, mostly to do with those two women. Also, the feast at the end, while it may go on far too long, I understand that is the point of the feast, because you have to endure such a long feast. You have to watch the violence being done. It's an extremely long sequence, but there are so many kind of brilliant parts, split into a lot of unnecessary things. Annabella Sciorra, like, cackling at Lili Taylor walking around covered in blood, like, like, that's a remarkably holy moment. That might be the moment I will think of every time I think of this film, and it will be a positive moment. So this film is not a terrible movie. This film has a lot of greatness to it. And it was almost on the precipice of actually being able to say a real philosophical truth at the very beginning, where they frame it as Lili Taylor not understanding how people could just stand aside and allow genocide and these crimes against humanity to happen. That you can't just punish one person, you need to punish everybody in that community because they were all intrinsically involved. They were all complicit. And when Annabella Sciorra changes Lili Taylor, when she feeds on her neck and changes her into a vampire, which happens extremely quickly, she calls her a collaborator. And that is how easily people within seemingly respectful and humane societies are turned so fast, so easily into collaborators, because they have no backbone and they don't say what they truly mean. They don't actually want sin to leave them. They don't actually want evilness to go away. They actually want it to come closer, because that is the human condition. The human condition is violence and curiosity, and the violent curiosity, and then the expression of that violent revelation. Though, of course, self-revelation is annihilation of self. And it's ego, really. These characters are driven by an ego that tends to express itself violently. Now, the film takes like an hour and a half to relay these ideas to you in extremely superficial ways, like I said, by quoting Sartre, Burroughs, Nietzsche, just to name a few. By quoting these, it's almost, this film is an appeal to authority, like, fallacy in Manifest, the movie. The appeal to authority fallacy, the movie, featuring vampires. Like, okay, Abel. Abel Ferrara has always been a director who I'm not entirely sure how I feel about him. Like, Bad Lieutenant, I think I like, but I'm not entirely sure how I feel about him as a director. There are so many what I would consider mistakes made. Mistakes of composition, mistakes of expression, mistakes of structure, mistakes of characterization, mistakes of tone. Everything. He makes an incredible amount of mistakes, in my opinion, in this film. And they're usually mistakes where he's needlessly overstepping or overreaching as an, probably like a self-defined auteur. Like, he strikes me as that kind of filmmaker, that kind of artist. The Addiction I do enjoy. I most likely will never watch it again. The only reason that I would be to really just watch Lili Taylor go for it. Just go 100% and really startle me with her acting abilities. That's the only reason I think I would watch this film. I wouldn't watch it for anything that Abel Ferrara had to say. I would watch it for the method that Lili Taylor used to bring her character to life, or to death, right? Because it's that movie, it's that kind of film. Yeah, what did you guys think of The Addiction? Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this film. And what do you think of Abel Ferrara? Do you agree with me that he's kind of a confusing director? Because I think he's confused as a director. I don't exactly know what to make of him. I don't think I like him very much, but I definitely don't loathe him. I do recognize there is value in his films. It's just difficult to pick apart which parts are valuable and which parts are superfluous and which parts are made of artifice. What do you think of Abel Ferrara? What do you think of Lili Taylor? And you better only say positive things or banned. Lili Taylor is a gift. Lili Taylor is a gift. Yeah, what did you think of The Addiction? What do you think of Abel Ferrara overall? And what do you think of vampire movies? You know, we haven't exactly covered vampire movies. What are some of your favorite ones? The Addiction is obviously not one of my favorite ones, but if it's one of yours, I would actually really like to know that, and really like to know why. So thank you guys for watching. My name's been Zachary Conan, and subscribe! Damn, I have to remember to say that, because we're trying to grow a channel.